That's good. Were you recording that? All right, guys. Well, I guess this is the intro. This is the beginning of the first ever True Horizon pod. Welcome on. I see Tyler. You've got nice. What is that? A matcha drink?
Matcha taro. It's the first time I'm having taro, so I don't know what the hell it is.
Wow. Thoughts so far?
Dude, it tastes like someone put matcha in like an expired coconut. I don't know how to describe it.
Wow.
It's weird. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, welcome.
There we go.
Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, our CTO.
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
The mastermind behind our bleeding edge AI solutions. Well, welcome everyone. This is the first ever True Horizon pod. My name's Milan, co-founder and CEO here at True Horizon, joined by my lovely co-founders, Mr. Nate Herc and Mr. Tyler Bauckham. You guys want to give a quick intro? Maybe Nate, we can start with you.
Sure. Name's Nate. Graduated from the University of Iowa, 2024. Double major in business analytics and marketing. From Chicago, moved out to Salt Lake City where I was working in automation for Goldman Sachs, and then spun up the YouTube channel a few months after that, and then met up with these guys, and now we're doing business together. So,
Nice. Tyler, CTO of True Horizon, graduated from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute at the same time as both of these guys, with my dual major in computer science and philosophy. So apologies if I say some wildly existential shit.
Classic.
Yeah, CTO, oversee all technical solutions. My brain is like 50% just technical ideas, and the rest is just garbage. So, been in the trenches and been solving problems for 5 years now, and it drives you a little nuts. So I caution anyone who walks that road.
I'm just imagining like flashing to Tyler's LinkedIn pre-True Horizon and him walking on his walking pad like 7'5" in the air. Just like these two monitors up here.
Everyone always talks about like picturing me when I'm writing this post, because I'm 100% how people think I am, like just sitting there like, oh, this is gonna be so funny. Like, but now everyone's aware that they're gonna see my LinkedIn. So.
Yeah. But maybe we can toss it up on there, some of your top performing posts.
I had to delete a lot of them for the credibility of our company. So
yeah, it's a good move, honestly. My name's Milan, co-founder CEO here, responsible for overall strategy, ops, and execution, and super excited to be here. So quick snapshot, where we are as a business and kind of who we are as a company. We started off doing only custom services, really kind of taking the AI agency model. We found out essentially everything that was broken with that model, and in doing so, spun up a new way of selling AI to businesses called the AI partner model. We've since scaled that to just over $2.5 million per year in sales. We're now branching out to different product branches, as well as preparing to launch our first AI Incubator cohort, which is a super exciting initiative to equip other AI entrepreneurs and AI engineers with the skills that they need. And so, in this pod today, you're basically just going to get a super raw story of our mistakes, different pivots that we made, our breakthroughs, how we grew the team, and kind of, where we are now as a business. And hopefully in a couple of years' time, we can watch this back and laugh at how juvenile we were and how much we've since learned and grew. And so with that being said, I'd love to kind of start with the backstory of, us three, how we all met, and kind of maybe the true original root of True Horizon, which I guess starts in Oklahoma City. So Tyler, I'll toss it over to you.
Yeah. So I want to start this with Milan and I's backstory, because I think there are some themes here that populate into our journey. So Milan and I met at a government tax software provider, which sounds just about as exciting as it is, 2 years ago as internships. I remember specifically the first time that we sort of clicked was after work. I don't know if you remember, we were playing Pickleball after the first day. And I remember like we were playing and everybody else is like, well, I don't know how to say this. They were bad. They were really bad. But we were both just like shitting on everybody. And I remember like seeing it. I was like, oh, okay, like he's got game. So I think like that was the first time I think we like sort of clicked.
Yeah.
But we really clicked. We started they gave us 30 minutes. They basically gave us 30 minutes of recess every day at work, which made us feel, which just reemphasized like the corporate prison. And on one of them, it was just us. And we started talking about just like everything that we thought about life. And we started talking about like the podcast we had been watching, entrepreneurship, ambition. And that's when we first clicked. And I remember us just both sharing the sentiment of like, what are we doing here at this company, even though we're here and we applied and we went through the interview process.
Yeah.
At the time you were running Open Lake, so you were an entrepreneur. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I think the word is a wantrepreneur. So I looked up to you then, and I remember like, and even to this day, like I remember how you acted in social situations and could pick up on how your experience played in. And to this day, I still sort of like pick up on it and subconsciously emulate it to handle myself in those situations. So that was our backstory. I remember we went to the gym a little bit too, and I think then we could really tell that like there was a fire in each of us.
Yeah.
And we saw that in each other, and that's why we bonded so hard. And then the rest of the summer at OKC, we didn't really do anything. We just did 5 minutes of work a day because we were in La La Land. And then it culminated with Milan and I's first entrepreneurship experience with dropshipping.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments on Luminar lighting or the foot pads?
Oh my God, man, that was crazy. And yeah, but before I do that, I really remember like clicking with you almost instantly. I think for me, actually, the first time was it was actually the first day of work. I don't know if you remember, but on our lunch break, we had to drive to the DMV to like get our government ID or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I remember in that car ride, I drove, we carpooled together, and like we were just talking about, like what is it that we want to do? And I was explaining to you like a little bit about Open Lake. And I remember thinking that like, dude, like this guy's response to like entrepreneurship and like the fact that I'm running a business was nothing like anything like that people my age who are not in like embedded in the entrepreneurship ecosystem had. Like just an understanding of like, I would say things and I feel like you picked up on it and you would riff off that and like advance the conversation. And I think that day I was kind of like, okay, dude, like I have a feeling we're just going to lock in together. And then, yeah, Pickleball, I mean, we were just destroying everyone. Our manager, your lead, Kyle, I remember in particular.
That's a weird dynamic.
And yeah, so that was awesome, man. But yeah, I mean, Luminar lighting, yeah, drop shipping. Yeah, that was definitely a money grab, but I mean, we locked in for sure there.
Yeah, we made 3 sales. We made 3 sales.
Yeah.
You drop shipped as well, though.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, what did you drop ship, though?
Ooh, a couple different things. When you say Luminar lighting, were you going for like those like colorful LEDs?
Oh,
dude, those lights
Luminar.
are so cool, though, honestly.
It was the coolest light.
Is that what you were going for?
It's a great
Yeah,
light.
it
I sold
was
a couple of those too, yeah.
really?
I did, actually, yeah.
Yes.
The lighting game.
My best seller was actually a portable perfume bottle or portable cologne. And I was targeting like college students, like never smell bad at the bars again. Always have this in your back pocket sort of thing.
Nice.
And that did really well on TikTok. I only did TikTok. I didn't do Facebook ads.
How did you do, like, sales-wise?
I burned a few thousand before I was able to make sales. I came out in the green, but nothing crazy, like maybe 6 to 8 total.
Okay.
But to me, that was like an eye opener of like, you can make money online. You don't need all this stuff. So that's kind of, that was like the first thing.
How is
Nice.
What's the difference between portable cologne and just like cologne?
I mean, how
Just
big
like
is like your
cologne.
cologne bottle?
How big? Like, I don't know. Like,
Oh, really?
I feel
Oh,
like
okay.
cologne's pretty small.
Well, I mean, I guess one of mine is like this big. Sometimes girls have perfume bottles that are like this big.
Oh, I
And
see.
if you can just put a little in like almost like a little pill bottle,
Yeah.
it sticks right in your pocket, your purse.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think it's too big to take out with you, a regular bottle, for
Yeah.
sure. I see the value prop.
Yeah. Or if like you're flying somewhere and you can't take that much,
Yeah. Yeah.
pump some in
under 2.8 ounces, I think, something like that.
something like that.
Yeah. Or maybe 3.2.
Let's we'll really get in the weeds of TSA regulation.
But that's Milan and I's story. Nate was a much more successful dropshipper than us. And then we ended with I think we started selling some foot pads, and we didn't make a single sale.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
and then we just stayed in touch throughout the rest of the time, and until the point where I was in grad school, not having the time of my life. Milan, you went to work back for that same company in Alabama. Also, we're not having the time of your life, and I think we just both like we need to do something here.
Yep.
And hopped on the opportunity, and so that's Milan and I up to this point, and then there's 3 of us.
Yeah, 100%. And also in between that time, I just remembered calling you, anytime I was feeling existential or, anything like that. And we would just have like hour and a half long conversations and really, I think, forge a brotherhood there. And so, yeah, we kind of got back together at that time. I was working some shit job in Montgomery, Alabama. You were not happy in your academic program, and we got together to form an AI agency. And that leads us to how we met Mr. Herc, which was on December 5th.
December 5th.
I saw you on LinkedIn. I know that you were president of AK Psi, and I was wondering if we had any mutuals. I also saw that at the time you had 3,000 to 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, which you've since 100x'd as of the date of this recording, which is absolutely absurd. And I remember reaching out to you, and I'm curious to know, man. At the time, again, you had 3,000-4,000 subscribers. You had quit your job at a massive bank. What was your mindset at that time around starting an AI business?
Yeah, the timing couldn't have been better, I think, because I was just starting to get to that place where I was picking up some traction and people were starting to reach out wanting things. And it had become something I was debating in my mind. Because like if I step back a couple months there, I was working as a developer for a different agency and I was bringing them leads. And I was like, if I do this and my channel keeps growing and I'm just kind of locked into this position, it's just not going to be worth it. Especially because, I was just getting a little percentage on those leads. So yeah, I made the pivot and then I realized, I hit this, you guys know I refer to this so much, the transition cycle, like the entrepreneur curve of like those 5 stages. And that's exactly when I came off of the back end of the uninformed optimist and I became the informed pessimist, because I just saw how many complexities there were with just like, first of all, setting up an LLC, getting a business bank account, like that stuff. But then when you start to think about like working with developers or subcontractors or hiring people, and you've got like, you got to protect your margins, but you're in like a service-based business and it's just like, just an onslaught of stuff. And so that's when I really started to think about, man, I don't really just want to be working with subcontractors. I want to find some people I can do this with. And the people I had been considering doing it with at that time was the bulk of my audience, because they were the only people that were really inbound for me. And that was all like 30 to 45-year-old white males. That's since broadened out a bit. But I was also like, if I'm building a business with people, I want there to be also like just a good culture fit. And I'm really lucky because I think we got that immediately. Like just what you guys said right there. I feel like if I would have been in that internship, I feel like the 3 of us would have hit it off there. But like the pickleball, I loved that. The drop shipping, your guys' mindsets. Like I think this is our second time meeting in person. Yeah. The first time was 4 months ago, which was 4 months after we started working together. But it's really felt like I've known you guys a long time. So anyways, I kind of got on a ramble there. My mindset was I wanted to start working with people, and I wanted to find people that would be a culture fit. And yeah, I don't know why, but it just seemed like we hit it off. I mean, we talked on LinkedIn for a few days, then we had a call or two, and then you introduced me to Tyler, and then we pretty much just got started. But I think if you would have reached out a month earlier or a month later, I don't think it would have happened. I really think so, because I think a month later I would have found someone else. Yeah. And I think a month before I would have been like, I'm doing this on my own. Yeah. Because I was kind of in that mindset where I thought that I could. Yeah. Because I'm so unaware and just way too optimistic, Yeah. So I think it was perfect. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think the timing probably couldn't have been better, honestly, because at the time, like Tyler and I, coming from like the computer science background, had like the technical knowledge to really like sell a technical audience and deliver. And you were just getting crushed by leads at the time with the deal flow. And I remember being kind of skeptical, because when I looked back at our conversation, one of the first things I asked you was like, how would you say you are with like N-to-N and vector databases and stuff like that? Because I think a lot of people saw the channel growing and just wanted to like kind of jump on, but weren't willing to be able to put in the work or had the technical skills that you two have. So I don't know if I was almost like vetting you out with N-to-N knowledge or something, but it was perfect. It was perfect. And then like our roles are, it seemed like there wasn't too much thought that really had to go into like who's going to do what. And I know that's something that since quarterly we've had to like adjust, and we're still working through getting the right systems in place and making sure everyone's jobs are aligned, but it worked out perfectly. And I think that we've said that a lot throughout the beginning, was like, we just have strengths that complement each other really well.
Yeah,
So
100%. And yeah, that I really like. I refer to that time like that December 2024 into Jan 2025. Like we're getting everything together. On a personal note, I was in between jobs. Like I'd quit that job that I hated, but I had landed another job that I really enjoyed, actually. Sales engineer at Datadog. That was really helping me sharpen my skills. But again, it wasn't really all in on the vision of what it is that we were building. But I think we all felt that spark. Like you said, I think we naturally kind of welded into like what it is that we're good at, the complementary skill sets that we all brought to the table, and we've since just been able to pretty much take that and run with it. And so yeah, we ended up getting officially incorporated there in January. I think Jan 26th is like our official LLC formation date. At the time, we were talking with a customer to kind of put in perspective how little we knew. We quoted the customer originally at I think 5 to 8K. And then he had said that he wants an expedited 2-week timeline. And if I remember, it was basically an NLP to SQL system that he was commissioning us to build. And so we turned around from a 5K quote. We turned that into a 45K quote. Shipped that back with no MSA, no official paperwork, just basically a rough proposal. And ultimately, I think the client just ghosted us. So that was definitely a learning curve. But to speak on essentially what happened after that, we did end up landing our first client at that time. It was a personal assistant agent, tapped into Notion and a calendar, sold it for about $6.5 thousand. And Tyler, I remember, obviously was the CTO and the developer at that time, the engineer. I was briefly involved at that phase as well in delivery, but I started working with other clients, not with this first client. But Tyler, I want to ask you, I actually want to recount a specific story with that build. I remember there was a deliverable we had on Friday, and Friday morning, 9 a.m., we had a call with the customer. And Thursday evening, the build was in shambles, basically. And we were fully discussing a re-architect of the entire system. The day before we were supposed to deploy the solution for the client. Looking back on that and everything that now, being the cracked AI guy you are now, what in that night, Thursday at 1 or 2 a.m. when we're re-architecting the build, what would you tell yourself now?
I mean, yeah, obviously you have to be careful with clients because the expectation is that the deadline will be met always. And at that time, it was a significantly larger deal to us because that was our first client. And now, if it was the same price point and everything, we would just probably communicate with the client and be like, hey, we missed the deadline. I mean, I don't know what I would say other than push until a certain point. Because at the end of the day, the problem with that build, which by the way, top 3 worst builds, fucking horrible build. I hated that. What we learned throughout that process was invaluable. We learned a lot of technical things. Notion, for instance, is just horrible to work with on a technical automation level, but you can do some things to clone their databases and make it work better. So I would tell myself the technical information. Right. That would not have put me in that situation. But no, I mean, we learned a lot. I think, was that the same night that Claude 3.7 Sonnet came out?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So there was that, which seemed to band-aid the solution to a point where it was presentable. Yeah. So those, and maybe just it's not that deep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was definitely a pretty crazy time, I would say. I remember that night so clearly. But we ended up having a nightmare of a deployment session too. I don't know if we stitched together the build. We had something that was workable, and then we had a 2-hour deployment call with the customer on the call. And I think really just kind of speaks to everything that we've learned. And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to touch on that, if you're building an agency or you're a freelancer or whatever, do everything in your power not to do a deployment call. It's the worst 2 hours of your life. It's the lowest value 2 hours of your life you're ever going to spend you're going to want to beat your head against the wall trying to tell them to save something in Innate or whatever the hell it is. So don't do it.
Yeah. So from that call, we took the lesson of the deployment. I think that was January. February, we moved in. We signed like 8 to 9 clients, doing just under $60,000 in revenue. That was a crazy deal run. That was like Nate and I were doing all the sales calls together. At the time, we were like doing all the proposals together.
Yeah.
Like I remember you and I would like be on a Google Doc at the same time, which now like looking back on it, like that is so like inefficient. And the way we run sales now has really evolved. But yeah, we signed, just under 60K across those 8 to 9 clients. And there's a lot to dive into here. Like there's a lot about the technical side of the builds. Again, Tyler, that 2 to 3 month stretch of you being the only developer. But before we talk about that and the technical weeds and like what it actually takes to ship an AI system into production, I want to ask Nate. At the time we were running sales, but you were balancing something that Tyler and I have just no idea about, which is explosive brand and content growth. You were grinding. You were putting out basically a video a day, or at least every other day. Your community was growing on a rocket ship. Now well over 120K members in the free community, paid community is crushing it. How did you manage sales and really just this exponential historical rise on YouTube with the channel?
It's a great question. And honestly, I think my answer to the question is a little bit embarrassing, because I feel like the past year of my life has been in this cycle where it's like you get to a point where you're drowning, and it's not until then where you decide to do something about it. And I was drowning is like the answer is at that point. We were doing things together. We were doing discovery calls, writing proposals. It was inefficient, but I think it was necessary.
Yep.
Because we learned a lot about the systems we needed in place. But then, it's like I would turn off that side of my brain, and I would have to completely turn it on for a completely different task of idea generation, building something, recording it, editing it. Was doing all the editing myself, still pretty much am, which is like for a technical type of video, I think it's fine. But the community just started to get to a point where it was unexpected. Like I never thought that it was going to turn into a separate business. So luckily, now I have a lot more systems in place because there's people there that help me out. But that definitely added a huge layer of pressure, because the growth of the channel, it wasn't a ton of pressure. It was more so like that kind of felt like a race, because I would see other people put out a video, and then I'd be like, I need to get another one out soon. Or like I'm going to lose all my subscribers or something, which was a mindset shift that I had to get over, because I could not post for a month. Most people could not post for a month and they'd be fine. Like their channel is there. You really just have to think about, in the mindset of like a consumer, is they're subscribed to so many people. They probably only spend an hour or 2, if that, on YouTube a day. So just a lot of stuff like that I had to learn. But the community was a different layer of pressure, because people are actually paying now to be a part of it rather than just being able to go online for free.
Yep.
So, my answer to the question is basically that it's like this cycle of you're drowning, you do something about it, and you can breathe again. And then I would just start drowning again. And it's just like these different phases. So it's like, how do you get to a place where you can proactively protect yourself against the drowning and grab onto like, a life preserver before your head goes under? Would love to flip that one back on you two, because I know we have collectively all 3 been drowning before, but I do feel like since that major time, we haven't.
Yeah.
Unless you guys have different experiences there, but.
My first time when you started talking about it was like, unfortunately, it's a very human, I guess, experience and habit to like not be a preventative thinker. Like you just sort of jump in, and then the crocodile bites you, and then you say, I should probably not go in that lake again. And then you just do that until you avoid all the crocodiles. I think I wouldn't know where this came from, but I think it might have been Hormozy actually. It was like being an entrepreneur is just eating shit over and over again until you figure out how to not eat shit, which is what we all just continually did.
Yeah.
And we still eat shit every day. I mean, we ate shit the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the first thing I think of. And I was wondering, Nate, too, like when you were talking about it, it's I guess like I would be curious how you would quantify, like how much shit were you eating, and like how much did it affect you? Because I know there was like it was difficult to cope with, and we don't have the experience of like being a star in some capacity, right? Like, so how do you deal with the pressure of continuously growing from like a social media presence?
Yeah, because it's something that was pretty unexpected for sure. I guess the rate of growth there, and I think that's why there were so many growing pains, was just because of like things that I wouldn't be aware of. I think something that was a big mindset shift for me was just having to understand that there's no way in the world you can make everyone happy. Like, you have to pick one target avatar and you have to optimize for that target avatar. Even if people will say things about you that are not good or whatever it is. Like there are lots of people that have been in my community and have been very unhappy for some reason or the other. But then there's people that are like, this is an absolute steal for the amount of value that's in here for what I'm paying.
Yep.
And really what it comes down to, and I think just the common theme, if I could say like one thing, would just be like objectivity over subjectivity. And so I realized I needed to start like collecting data on everything and just using the data to actually make decisions.
Yep.
I think we've said this before, just about like everything in life ends up being a math problem if you have the right variables to do that math problem. Because I think the first problem is that you're not collecting the data, you don't know what to do. But once you start to collect that data, then things become a lot more clear. But still, it's tough to remove emotions out of it, for sure. Because a lot of times you probably do want to go with what your heart is telling you, your brain, whatever it is. But you have to somehow find a way to get rid of that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question. Like, quantifying that, though, could be tough.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think there's an important note in there of like, it's very easy, especially at the beginning of your journey, the one negative comment and be like, oh my God, like I've made someone unhappy.
Yeah, it's weighted a lot more.
Exactly.
Sure.
And then like you said, you start looking at the numbers and it's like, well, 99% of the people are happy. Like, what am I on about? Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I think another important thing there is like, as you start encountering more problems and you are really committed to solving it, eventually you realize that you just need data. Like, you can't just keep riffing. And I do that in my life. Like, I track HRV, like I track a bunch of different health metrics, and that's how I determine how I'm doing instead of just like subjectively flying in the wind. So that's another really important point.
Yeah. And then one funny thing that I think about all the time is my growth operator, John, that I work with for the school community. Sometimes I'll say things to him, and he will just throw this figure in my face, which I'm not sure is like if it's completely true or what it is, but I'll like tell him something or I'll rant, and all he'll respond with is 5% of the world is mentally ill. And that's all he'll say. Because some people just think that it should work a certain way, but that's just not it. I think the first time he said that to me was because someone bought an annual membership in the community and they had used 4 months, and then they thought that they were entitled to the remaining 8 months of their payment. As in like me refunding them. I think I told you guys
I remember this guy. Yeah.
And he was so mad, like threatening to sue, all this kind of stuff. And I think another big takeaway that I know we've experienced together was just about like, sometimes you just have to chew glass.
Yep.
To save your reputation. Even if you're in the right, you'll take a hit. Sometimes you just have to chew glass because that at least makes it a net positive, rather than, because like, there are times when, we could like have the conflict. We could face it. We could do all this, and probably we would end up like with the result that we wanted. But is that like a 10x task, like spending your time and energy dealing with that? Or would you rather just say, okay, have this money back or whatever it is and just move on?
Yeah.
So
100%. I think there's a lot of important learnings there. So much stuff I want to dive into. Like, Nate, I think you made the great point there of ultimately you can't keep everyone happy, and sometimes you just do have to chew glass. And I remember specifically like early on in the community having a conversation with you where you voiced to me that you were like, man, like, this community and all, it's like, it's great, but I feel obligated that I have to respond to every single question, every single comment
yeah.
that goes in there. And I was just like, damn, dude, there are tens of thousands of people in there. Like that must, it's just insane. And, you know, on the notion of like quantifying things and collecting metrics to use as like a baseline in your life, like I think we've done a really good job of that in recent times in TrueHorizon. Like getting our focus down on like, here are 3 signals that matter. 3 signals. We can quantify like initiatives within there. We have measurable goals that are attainable, which like we just didn't have before. And so you know, on that point of eating shit, I wanna kind of move into like the next phase of like, we had this personal assistant agent that, you know, the Thursday night Claude Sonnet came out, ended up having that nightmare deployment session. February again, signed like almost 60K, tons of deals, right? NLP to SQL. We had voice agents in there. We had sales and marketing agents. We had quoting agents, lead gen, data analyst agents, ton of stuff. And so some of the things there that we were basically eating shit with in this like AI agency model, right? We had scope creep everywhere. We had pricing mishaps, overwhelmed in delivery, massive client expectation gaps. And I feel like this might be something that people who have landed their first client are dealing with right now. And Tyler, as the CTO and the architect of the systems that got us out of this, and you know, there's a close working relationship between sales and tech now to mitigate these issues. But I'd say the brunt of this lies within an actual delivery system. And so, as you know, the architect of a world-class, bleeding edge AI system delivery system. That's a bit of a mouthful. What are some things that anyone who's watching this who is delivering an AI automation project right now, maybe in one of the things that I just mentioned, or maybe not, what are some of the key things they should consider for successful delivery?
Yeah, 2 things come to mind immediately. First, you need a plan. I'm a huge soccer fan, so I always make soccer analogies, but like, well, in any sport, you don't walk into it without a game plan unless you're just that good. And so what we do is we make a roadmap for the entirety of the project in order to A, solve problems in advance and actually know the cadence we're working on for the clients. But the big thing, and this goes for any engineer, is like, you learn this in a computer science degree, especially a rigorous one. It's like, well, I mean, I guess the theme of today is eating shit, but some nights you're going to eat shit and not know what the hell you're doing. And you have to, in that moment, have the courage to just say like, I'm going to figure it out at all costs. And it's like, it can be sort of compulsive, but don't be afraid to solve problems as an engineer. Like, we sign deals and it has a scope in it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't have a single idea how we're going to do that. And then we figure it out. And then we see that it's not fast enough. The latency is not high enough. And one build in particular, which is the worst build in history. One build in particular, that was a recurring theme. We build it, we send it back to the client. He says, not good enough, too slow. And then we figure it out. And that pressure, which often comes from the sales side, makes you engineer and innovate. And so don't be afraid to sign a scope where you don't know what's going to happen. You have to take that risk. Don't sign something impossible. Don't sign up to send something to the moon. But you need structure. You need a system for delivery. You need to know what you're delivering. You need to know who's doing what. I mean, that's probably a different conversation when we start talking about hiring people.
Yep.
But don't be afraid to solve problems, because you're going to be up at 9 p.m. some nights if you really commit to it. If you're 9 to 5ing, whatever, you're going to be there at 5 p.m. banging your head. And then you'll sleep, and then you'll have an epiphany. And that's just the cycle of being an engineer. And it's very rewarding, but it's a lifestyle. Something I tell people, and I've been thinking about a lot recently, is like, the lifestyle of an engineer is like, there should be like an oath for it, because it's like you are committing to a profile and a lifestyle that is not it's a burden. Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So those are 2 things.
Yeah, 100%. And I think one of the things that you do a really good job at is like because you've been in the trenches, you understand firsthand what these problems are, and you can communicate that to our engineers and to our team. And I think you get really high buy-in from the engineers on that, because they see that you understand, and in a way that Nate and I don't, in a way that our engineers and our guys in the trenches can't understand. And so I think a lot of valuable lessons there. I think also a lot of these problems that we mentioned can be mitigated on the sales side. So I want to take a second to like just discuss some of those. But like always starts with clear scope. We've gotten much better at hopping on monthly retainers rather than project-based implementations, which has helped a lot because monthly retainer, you get the flexibility to eat shit basically and have a flexible scope and change requirements rather than trying to hit like objective scope of work criteria that is really hard to hit in a non-deterministic LLM system. And also really knowing your value. You know, I think like we undercharge a lot in the beginning. I think we still do for some active projects that we have. And so really kind of knowing your value and knowing that what you're doing is extremely novel and you are the thought leader, you are the strategic AI partner that's going to help that business owner stay bleeding edge. Knowing all these things and that being your frame in selling is really key to kind of avoid these mistakes. So,
yeah. Well, the one-time project versus monthly retainer business model is actually a much, like we just said it in passing, but it's a huge deal in the space. And the reason for that is you can sign a fixed project fee when you are certain how to accomplish the thing and you know it will get done at a certain price. So if you're building a house, you can sign a fixed project fee for a house. We know how to build a house. We've been building houses for thousands of years, hundreds, tens of thousands of years.
And you know what a completed house looks like.
And you know what a completed house looks like. These clients don't even know what they're looking for half the time.
Yeah.
But if you sign a fixed project scope for something that you don't know how to build yet, and we're in such a novel space, you can shoot yourself in the foot, which we did 10 times over. And so the monthly retainer is actually like, if you can do it in the AI space as a freelancer, as a business, whatever, I mean, it's ideal. And that's probably true across a lot of different types of businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious though, I'm going to ask you this, Milan. You know, when we're drowning with 10 clients, something you say routinely is like, when you sell a client, you're like, this is my client. I take care of them. I need to make sure they're happy. What do you think when we have like 10 clients and we're missing deadlines and tech team is like struggling? Like what goes through your head? Like, is it anxiety? How are we going to do this? Like, why aren't they delivering? Like, where does your brain go?
Yeah, I think, it's a really interesting question. I think the first place my mind goes to is relationship perseverance. Like, spend a lot of time researching about our prospects and like thinking about how we can sell, which at the end of the day is like really just building a relationship. I mean, if I think about our most successful deals or highest ticket deals, the one underlying thread is that we've built a strong foundational relationship that's built on a common connection outside of like AI and like all the hype. So I think that's where it goes, but primarily it goes to like the team now. And I think this is something I've evolved as a leader. Tyler, this is something I definitely, learned from you is a more human first approach. Like if you asked me this question back in February, March, I'd be like, oh fuck man, like, how are we going to keep the client happy? Like how are we going to deliver? Like, let's work our guys, let's get going. But now it's really like, dude, like is the team okay? Like what, like, and how can I take accountability? If we're late on a deadline, instead of going to like, what did our engineer do wrong and how can we upskill them? I go to, dude, I should have added in an extra month on the sales cycle here. And I think that's a foundational shift because it gets to like the root of the issue. It's not a Band-Aid fix. It's an actual underlying cause fix. And so like, internally for the team at TrueHorizon, I'm like, all right, like let's make sure our guys are okay. Let's make sure they're not crashing out and burning out and killing themselves. And externally, like, okay, how do we preserve the relationship? How do we deliver something that the client is ultimately happy with? Save our reputation, and ultimately walk away feeling like, yes, this was a loss probably, but like we learned something that, we know we're not going to make this mistake again.
Right. Yeah. No, there's a really tricky balance as a leader in a company with employees of pushing and preserving your team. Because it's like, and it's something I deal with all the time with the engineers is like, how do you inform them that we have to make the deadline while still showing that we prioritize their health?
Yeah.
Like we had one guy, Debonker. We can talk about Debonker. Ended up in the hospital recently.
Yeah.
And I had the conversation with him, and it's because he wasn't sleeping, trying to do work. And I had to sit him down and say, Debonker, I do not care if we lose $5,000 for this client, if they don't pay the second invoice, if you're going to the hospital.
Yeah.
I do care if, you're just slacking and it's not going well. We do care. So there's like a fine line. It's like, I do need to push you, but like, you're going to the hospital? Like, come on, let's come back a little bit. So
yeah,
it's a weird balance to strike.
Yeah.
At all times. And like, it's always a balancing act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I remember seeing sort of both of you go through that shift. And I was smiling at Tyler when you were talking. We had some cute eye contact there.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
But
I didn't know what was going on.
Man,
the reason why I almost spit my water out, because I was thinking about the first time that we got together in person. We had a few hard conversations that week, and there was multiple things going on. But I remember just thinking to myself how you two have like these views sometimes that are on completely different ends of the spectrum, but you conversate in a way where it's like, that's really helpful. And I remember that I was sitting in between you two and you guys were just going back and forth. And I remember just looking back and forth, and internally my dialogue was like, Milan just made a really good point. I agree with that. And then Tyler would say something, I'd be like, "Oh, but like now I'm more on this side." And that probably went on for like an hour.
Yeah.
But
I think we had Love on the Spectrum in the background.
we were just watching the show, and I was like, yeah. But I wanted to actually bring that into a question real quick about the different things that we've done and like the different phases of our business when it was all of us boots on the ground, and like the way that the culture and leadership has evolved. What do you guys think has been like, if you could name one moment or like event or initiative that we've had that's really just like helped us as a team the most? Like I know we've done some things, we worked with some different people, switched up the strategy. When we had these moments of like, okay, Nate's going to get removed from discovery calls, Tyler's going to get removed from the actual delivery. There's been lots of different things, but what do you think has been like the most helpful thing that like kind of snowballed all of the success we've been seeing the past couple months? And you can't say hiring Martin. That's too easy.
Dude,
that's too easy.
That's
way too easy.
Easily number
That's
one.
easy
Yeah.
number one.
Well, yeah, I mean it is
Yeah.
hiring Martin, but
Yeah.
if that's not on the table, two come to mind. I would say number one, when I got a call from that one client at 6 p.m. and he accused me of holding him hostage. That was a total paradigm shift, and I was like, what in the hell is happening? And then the second one is we had a call with Michelle, our business advisor / therapist.
Yeah.
And our company has not been the same since.
Yep.
Totally realigned. Took more responsibility. I took more responsibility over tech. I think we segmented our roles a little more. We aired out a lot of stuff that we've been building up.
Yeah.
And it's just been totally different since then.
Yeah. I was actually going to say that. So Nate, that was we had a call with Michelle. I think you couldn't make that you were traveling or something, but we had basically, this call with Michelle where like we, like Tyler said, aired out everything that was going on, basically roles and responsibilities. And that was almost exclusively like between Tyler and I. Mm-hmm. And after that call, so the call itself didn't solve anything. The call itself, I think, surfaced a bunch of stuff. But what happened was after that call, me and Tyler had probably a 2-hour long text conversation where like literally for 2 hours we were texting each other, like we were responding immediately. Like I was locked in on that conversation. And it was literally 2 hours straight of just getting everything out there. Mm-hmm. And like, I think it also speaks earlier to what you were saying about like the objectivity versus like emotion. It's something that I think we deal with as co-founders every day, right? Like we still do. And like, we're going to continue to do that. And I think that was a turning point. To answer the question, like that was definitely a turning point in TrueHorizon because it segmented roles at the top, at the founder level, mm-hmm. which like bled into everything because I stepped out of things that I should not be meddling with. Mm-hmm. Giving me the time and focus to like build out other parts of the org. And then Tyler had like the space to like lead and execute. And I think like that was definitely a turning point. I would also say the other one is like getting the all hands syncs going. I think we got those when we brought on Martin, and then maybe when we brought on I don't remember the date of our first one, but I think on our first one it was us three, the Bonker and Ishan. Like I think it was when we had all 6 of us on there, So it must have been sometime in like March. But I think getting those weekly syncs was also a pretty strong turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could throw another one in there, it would be the hiring of Ishan. I think Ishan and Dipankar too have made me realize what having a good teammate is like. And don't want to like speak on, don't want to speak too poorly of anyone else, but we made some decisions after that to let other members go, having had the perspective of working with Ishan and Dipankar, and they're just ballers. I mean, some things happen sometimes, but those guys are killers and just great collaborators. So that was also a big turning point.
Yeah. I mean, hiring is tough, and it's like we're also 24-year-olds who didn't really know how to hire or even how to approach it. I think luckily we were able to at least find a nice like niche of people that at least we knew we were interested in what we were interested in. But hiring is tough. I remember you were sending us podcasts and you're just like, listen to this. He's talking about like, Hormozy, talking about exactly the way to hire and like what we need to do. And luckily, I guess the moral of that story of that podcast was like, do the job, then hire because you know what to hire for.
Yep.
And that was a big mindset shift for me because it's like, otherwise, how would we know like what we're looking for?
Yeah.
So I thought that was awesome. And then I was very thankful for the fact that we kind of all got to see all of those roles, at least for a little bit, before we really started to scale that. But
yeah, 100%. And actually, question for you here, Nate, because outside of TrueHorizon, you've made hires for AIS Plus, right? I think you have three or four community members plus John.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, you are CEO and founder of that business. You're running that. You're owner and partly operator now. Now you have other operators as well. Do you see any parallels there, like lessons learned in TrueHorizon and / lessons learned in AIS that help you be that leader and grow a high performing team there?
That's a really good question. So when I started to realize that the community was growing to a point where I needed to bring on people and that it was turning into a business, not just a side hustle, this was after TrueHorizon had started like picking up some steam. And so the thing I started to think about was like, if I'm going to make a hire here, I need to make a hire who has ran a community before, or like I needed a subject matter expert, because there's so many things that go into, especially a low ticket community. I mean, low ticket, high ticket, completely different beasts in completely different ways, but there's just so much that goes into it that I would not have been able to find out. And it's just like not super intuitive either. So I was looking for someone kind of on the opposite, because I remember like when I said I was looking for basically you guys, good culture fit, my age, similar experiences. You guys were more technical than me. You had sales background that I didn't have, but we were pretty similar. I was looking for someone with actually like years of experience in this space of community management. So luckily, when I started working with John, he's built a few businesses. He's been in the copywriting space. He's grown communities. He's done like certifications and stuff too. So he knew exactly what we needed, and he was able to make those job descriptions, run the hiring, interviews, all that kind of stuff. So that was huge. John was for my community the number one best decision I've ever made over there. But
you're Martin, so to speak.
Martin level impact.
Yeah,
Martin level impact.
Absolutely,
Martin level impact.
Absolutely. Just like the one thing that's like, people look at the lifestyle of an entrepreneur, and when they think about like the destination of where people want to be, whether that's like a financial freedom, location freedom, whatever it is, but the trait that really it comes down to is like in Buy Back Your Time, when Dan talks about like a lot of entrepreneurs grew up in troubled homes because they're just so used to chaos.
Yeah.
And like, what are you thinking about when you put your head on your pillow to go to sleep at night? And if you're thinking about like the business and what you want to do and you can't wait to wake up and do it, then you just have like this infinite energy source. And I think that's huge. But you asked me about the parallels between TrueHorizon and the community. And I would say I don't know how many there are in the way you run the business, that is. Because one of them's a lot more of a product. The other one's more of a service. I'm fully removed from the service aspect, I would say, of the community, because like people do that tech support now, which is what a lot of people are drawn to, is the tech support.
Yep.
But besides that, it's very different. There's just, the marketing is a lot different. The operations are very different. So I don't know. That's all that comes to mind. I think if I really deeply analyzed them, would find some parallels there. But also, I mean, target avatar. Community is people that want to learn end-to-end. They're complete beginners. Anyone that so far we're attracting to True Horizon is advanced people that we want to hire, advanced people we want to put through our education program, or businesses that need this level of support. So
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'd say for that. It's
Yeah.
a good question, though.
It's an interesting question because we're not hiring the same type of people. We're hiring largely technical at this stage, and you're hiring just people who have some technical knowledge but are talking in a community.
Exactly.
And so you have to abstract it from the individual domain knowledge in some capacity and say, what are you looking for in a person? Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably the parallels we would find in something we've learned is like,
Yeah.
what kind of person do we want to hire?
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. But I guess like something you could speak to is like, take the experience out of it, take the domain knowledge out of it. Like, what do you look for in a person?
Yeah. Obviously, the first thing is like, are they technical enough to answer questions? If you're looking at like the support side, but the culture and like the hunger, I guess, is kind of like a huge thing to see. Are they just gonna, if some of these people that work in the community are hourly, are they just going to clock in, clock out, or are they actually like excited by the work, and do they want to grow within the business, or do they just want like some side income? Obviously, I think we're always looking to develop like long-term partnerships because we want to hire internally. We want to have people we trust. That's my mindset with it, at least. And I think everyone that I've hired pretty much there were people that were already there kind of doing what the role was without even being paid for it because they just really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I'll give you a free membership and I'll pay you if you do it a little more and like officially take ownership of certain things. And that was huge. One of the guys just quit his full-time job and is doing this full-time now. And
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah, which was really cool to see, and couldn't have been more excited about it. He was so excited about it, which was awesome. And we just did like a hackathon there, and this guy had watched probably like just 100 Loom videos that were all like 10 minutes, and just did like an analysis on all of them. And he's like, yeah, like he just loves it. He just loves like this space.
Yeah.
And now he has more time to put towards it. So
Yeah. True A player right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I guess, Tyler, I would actually love to flip that question on you, because I think like at True Horizon, probably now and maybe forever, the role that we're going to almost perpetually be hiring for is an engineering role, some kind of deep technical role. And so, I'd ask you, to anyone who's watching this or just in general, now our leadership styles have evolved. We've grown the team. We're running the developer cohort. We have 21 odd potential hires. You have a really good sense of like the type of person that you want to work with that's going to drive value in the org. So what are those qualities that, you look for in our engineers?
Yeah, man, I love this question because it's honestly more just a question about like life and people than it is about hiring in a technical org. A couple like cliche quotes to throw out are like, you're the average of the 5 people around you. Very true. Also just like, are they going to be headaches or not? So the things I would say is first is like, are they a good person? Like, can you talk to them? Are they nice? Are they going to like respond to you in like a considerate way, or are they just like a sociopath? Like, are they a good person first and foremost?
Yeah.
Second thing is, and it touched on there, is like buy-in. It's super easy to hire someone who's already doing it for free because they just love it. And so if you can tell, and I think this is particularly true of engineers, you can tell when somebody loves solving problems, when you're addicted to solving problems. And as someone who has that addiction or problem, like, I know what it's like. And when you identify someone else who has that, it's like, okay, I know I can trust them to solve issues. And when someone can't do that.
Yep.
So do they love solving problems? The third thing is just coachability. I always make this analogy. because I love soccer. If anyone's familiar with Pep Guardiola, the manager of Manchester City, best team in the world, arguably, someone asked him, what do you look for when you sign a player? And he said, I don't care how good at soccer they are.
Yep.
I care that they're a good person and they're coachable. And obviously they're the best team in the world, so we can't sign a pedestrian, but it's very true. And our VP of engineering, Martin, and I talk about it all the time. It's like, are they going to take the SOP and instructions they're given on board, and you're never going to have a problem again, or you're going to have to keep reminding them?
Yep.
Very simple. And if that's going to be an issue, goodbye.
Yep.
Yeah. So, are they a good person? Are they a nice guy? Can you talk to them? Can you riff with them? Guy or girl?
I was going to say.
Sorry. Do they love solving problems? And then are they coachable? Coachable. So those are the main things. And we're going through a massive hiring push right now. So I'm like deep in this mindset. And yeah, you can very quickly start weeding people out because of this. Like I have people that I'm like, I love this person. They have never touched Innate our software before, but they have a computer science background. They're just a great person. I can tell.
Yep.
And I'm like that person.
Right.
And then you can have a wizard who's really good. And if I don't like working with him, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. And like for anyone looking for a job who wants to be a freelancer, it's probably true working with clients as well. It's just like, are you a headache to work with, or are you just like a good person with the ability to learn?
Yeah.
So those are the main things.
100%. Yeah. I'm reminded of a conversation I had way back when with a guy, cracked life sciences entrepreneur, one of my great mentors here in Boston. I met him at an entrepreneurial networking event, and at the time, I was a hungry young founder. I was trying to turn everyone into my client. Literally every soul that walked by me, I was trying to sell them something. And I remember asking him. We had a great conversation about raising money. At the time, I was a junior in university, so I was in like year one of Open Lake. I'd signed like one client, and I was really like caught into like the startup hype of like, oh, like I need to raise money to be like a founder, to be like a true entrepreneur. I like need to raise money. Which now it's like the opposite, right? Like now I think like kind of have a chip on our shoulders of like, no, like we raise money from customers. Instead of like we sell. That's how you raise money. And I just remember having a conversation with him, and like I asked him, I was like, yeah, man, like what is the thing? Like, as CEO, like what is the thing that's gonna raise money, that gets an investor to raise money? And he said, ultimately, man, and I say this in our all hands every day, right? He says, ultimately, what an investor is investing in is a CEO who can get shit done. That's like all that matters. Like you can have a sexy product and product market fit and full stack AI system and all the YC buzzwords in the world. But ultimately that investor is just looking at, can this guy get shit done or grow? And that's the person I'm going to give money to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that aligns with what I said in the sense of like, if you were to take one theme from all of that, it's trust. Can you trust the person to do what they've been tasked with? And that's true in life too, with relationships. Can I trust you? If I can't, why am I in a relationship with you?
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it's a challenge. Like I'm sure we've had issues in operating where it's like, can I trust Tyler to get that done? Because I've delivered late on stuff. And then we work through it and we repair the relationship. And it's like, okay, sometimes trust is going to be violated, but each time you fail, it's an opportunity to reestablish even more trust.
Right.
If you're able to improve. And so trust, I mean, can you trust the person to get it done? Can you trust them to be coachable? Can you trust them to learn? And so to me, it all boils down to trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Nate, you were cracking up there a little bit. what was going through your mind?
This is just fun. We haven't sat down and reflected, and it's just making me think about how much we've been through. But the reason I was laughing was because I remember some of the early stages when, the three of us were hopping on a Zoom once a week, probably more. And it's like almost every decision we were making at that point, Milan's rationale was like, this is going to raise our valuation. I just remember that so clearly.
Yeah, bro. I remember that, dude. I was like, everything's like, oh, this is like 15 extra annual revenue. That's how we're going to go.
Yeah, which isn't horrible. I mean, you need a North Star of some kind. I don't know. What's your North Star now?
Oh, man. Oh, that's a great question. We had the slide there today on the all hands, right? And like our North Star, and I put together like our pyramid, and I put like our revenue goal. But I think there's a few things. Like I think it's actually it's something I was thinking about actually very recently. And I think Nate, maybe we had a brief conversation about this on the phone, but I think like personally, my North Star might be a little bit different than TrueHorizon's North Star, but like they are one and the same in the sense that like they're complementary. And like if I think about my North Star, like what is it that me, like Milan Taliani, cares the most about right now in like a professional work setting, right? And I think it is learning how to be just the most cracked CEO possible. Like that is my North Star. That's like when I wake up, I get out of bed, I'm like, what is it that I want to do? I'm like, dude, I just want to be a cracked ass founder. Like just be that guy, which is like different in a way from TrueHorizon's North Star. At TrueHorizon's North Star, we talk about, okay, we want to grow services, we want to grow product, we want to eventually go into enterprise product, we have an incubator, we want to educate people on AI. And so like they're not one and the same. But if I think about how they're related, I actually think that me having like putting my learning as a CEO first, like before TrueHorizon's growth, actually long term plays out well for TrueHorizon. And I'd be curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this because I think this is the first time I've like voiced that to you guys. So yeah, I'd be curious to get your guys' reaction on that.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it before a couple of times. It's like we've always talked about like, okay, we can talk about valuation, we can talk about how much money we're making, but then there's this other conversation of what are we learning and who are we becoming?
Yeah.
Is that more valuable than this?
Right.
And I think the answer should be yes.
Yeah.
Because what you're learning as a cracked CEO is not anything that's inapplicable to every other area of your life. What you're learning fundamentally to be is like the captain of a giant and ever-growing ship.
Right.
And how well can you steer it and operate it in a way that takes everybody to safety or to the promised land. And that as a skill, I mean, I don't know, I can't really think of another one I would rather have in this moment because it's like, okay, maybe it's TrueHorizon, but maybe, well, I don't think any of us are going to end up in the military unless we get drafted.
Fingers crossed.
Which could happen. Which could happen.
Yeah.
But if you're in the military, are you leading a group of guys in a dire situation under pressure? Are you leading your family somewhere? It's like you are learning how to lead. And now I think both of us and all of us would have the confidence to start a new company and operate something else and say, hey, I can actually do this. I'm not just jumping off a cliff. And that as a skill is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, like, because if you unpack that North Star and what are individually like the pieces that build that cabin of like, this is the most cracked CEO. There's like, just so many skills that go into that.
Yeah.
And it's like the idea that you can understand what goes into it and be able to like navigate that flexibly rather than just like, I don't know. It's like the whole idea of having like a sales script and you're sitting there like trying to close the client, but you're looking at your script. And if he says something that he wasn't supposed to, it's like, what do you do now? But being able to flexibly adjust because you know the goal, kind of the whole same like narrative of people that are selling end-to-end templates. It's like if you don't know how to customize that and actually use it to drive growth in your business or for you personally, then it's just like, what's the point there? Maybe you'll make some money quick for a couple months.
Yeah.
But it will just never sustain.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
I think this is a great segue actually into the next topic, which I wanted to spend some time on, is AI agency gurus. And I know this is all something.
we don't have enough time.
I know we all have extremely strong opinions on this, for sure. And there's a lot to unpack here, and I want to get both your perspectives on this. I guess I want to open up the conversation to you, Nate, and I want to ask you a question as someone with one of the largest YouTube channels in the AI space. You're very much known as the N8N guy. Like I see comments all the time, Nate 8N. Literally, like people call it.
That is crazy.
After you.
That is crazy how that works.
Think that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My online username all throughout being a kid was just N8. And
Really?
No way.
my parents texted me like, "Did you just build this company?" Like, a lot of people think that when I spoke at a few events, and they would introduce me as Nate from N8N, as if like I was the founder of the company or something.
Wow, dude, that's insane.
Super funny, but yeah. Anyways.
So this whole topic, right? AI agency guru. You have again the brand, the space. You've built an an incredible brand around educating people on N8N. And now we're seeing some diversification. We're seeing more agency-related content, how people can monetize. Obviously, you have the largest community. I see things all the time. I saw an Instagram story this morning, 0 to 10K in 1 week. Sell this N8N template. Obviously, it's BS, right? How do you, in this world of people just doing a cash grab, they make content like that because they can spin up a community, and that's how they get to 10K a month really quickly, right? How do you, as the leader in this space, distinguish yourself from these AI agency gurus?
It's a good question. I mean, up until 3 videos ago, I've never said money or dollar in any of my videos. It was just purely, here's the free template, here's how I built it, here's how you could customize it, and that was it. For the most part, my audience has understood that, and I think I've done a good job of staying away from that narrative. But of course, there is, if you go scrape my comments, there's tons of people saying, this dude just sells a course and that's it. He doesn't know how to implement whatever. And so the shift that I've been trying to make is like, how can I avoid that? Well, I'm just going to be brutally honest about it's hard, And I think not talking about the get rich quick, I've seen, the Instagram stories are absurd.
Yeah.
2,000 plus N8N workflows, sell each for 5K.
Yeah, it's
that
ridiculous,
stuff, it just drives me nuts.
I've got a hit list of Instagram creators.
Yeah.
We just call them out one by one because it's crazy.
It drives me nuts. And I don't know. I think in a way, this goes back to what I was just saying about unpacking what goes into being a successful CEO or building a successful business is just being able to flexibly adapt, because I've seen YouTube videos where I've overlaid my transcript and theirs, and it's the exact same, and that video blows up. Yeah. And just so many instances where people think that they have this recipe, but really all they're doing is just copy and pasting, and it will work. It works for a while. I've showed you guys the times when people are selling my course on Udemy or Reddit, and they're making 15K a month. Yeah. But it just doesn't. How do they think that's going to last? But anyways, you asked me my perspective on it. And my perspective is that, unfortunately, they are giving a lot of people the wrong idea. But this is just the ebbs and flows of different trends, and it will continue to happen until humanity is gone. Because, I've bought into it before too. Bought a dropshipping course. Definitely wasn't easy.
So did we.
I know you guys have been in other school communities or other programs. I bought a few of Iman Gaji's courses. And that's just human nature, we have these psychological triggers and people press on them enough times and you don't want to miss out. Yeah. And you won't miss out if you approach it in the right mindset. I think it's all about expectations. And I actually just made a video where I was kind of talking about this, where it's people will either niche hop, or they'll switch business models, or they'll quit too early. But the reality is that it was never actually early. The reality is that if they would have told themselves, I will start to make a lot of money with this in a year, they would have made it all the way and they would have probably been successful. But because of the narrative, they think in a month, right. Watch me build a dropshipping store to 10K a month in 1 week. Yeah. And you see those videos and it's I can do that in a week. And then you think, I'm stupid, I can't do this, I'm not cut out for an entrepreneur, so you give up. Yep. But in reality, that picture where it's the guy's digging and he stops and he's this far away from the diamond? Yeah. It's I don't know. That's how you're just fed in these misaligned expectations, and then it kills a lot of dreams, honestly. Yeah, 100%. And I think it's really important for people to hear that from you, as as the leader in N8N, as someone who's helped build a successful business in this space. And it kind of leads me to my next question, which, Tyler, I can't think of anyone on this planet who's more qualified to answer this question than you. But we see this right on Instagram. Hey, sell this template, scale it to 0 to 10K in 10 days or whatever it is. Can you speak a little bit about the lift to go from an N8N template that someone is selling in a community or in a course or whatever to an actual production system that's driving value for a business?
Yeah, we talk about this all the time. In that there's so many templates online, and even with your YouTube channel, Nate, there's a lot of stuff out there that provides a lot of value, but it's not a production solution. And it shows people what is possible, But if we're talking about the difference between the template you received and the POC you see online in a production solution, we're talking about several things. Obviously, we're talking about error handling. I don't see a single POC or template online that says like, what happens when this thing breaks? How are you going to inform the user? I think B, and this is something I thought about recently and noticed is like, people want to act like AI and large language models are general problem solvers. And so you can throw, let's say, a workflow that extracts a couple line items or prices from an invoice. And you might put something on your channel, or there might be a template out there that does that. But what we've learned is that these things are actually quite specific because different companies have different invoice formats. There are an infinite number of ways an invoice can be formatted, and so how are you gonna prompt to take care of those edge cases? And something we did actually recently is we have a build for this. That is basically not AI powered at all. We just use OCR and like do geography on the whole thing. So which is crazy, but and that's the difference, right? Is like so many things you find in the course of problem solving where it's very use case specific, and so how many of these workflows can be plugged and played into actual business systems? I would wager like 0.0001%, maybe a couple. And so that's the difference. There's nuances within each business use case that require specific problem solving, and then there are things like error handling, latency. How are you going to get around that? How are you going to implement typical computer science techniques? I think parallelization is something I go on about to get latency down. Yeah, those are the main things.
Yeah, and a lot of people would rather just buy a fish than learn how to fish. That wasn't the right analogy, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? What is the right one? Like, would you rather learn how to fish or be given a fishing pole? No, you know what I mean, right? Like,
teach a man to
something there.
Yeah,
teach a man to fish.
Yeah,
give a man a fish, he'll eat that day. Teach a man a fish, he'll eat for the rest.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Crack CEO. That's what I was looking for. Yeah,
but. Yeah, I mean, just on the notion of the guru thing, maybe I would like to use this as space to express my frustration as well.
Yeah, please.
And that, like, I see that, and I'm sure my engineers see it, and think, we spend hundreds of hours building these things and making it happen. You're going to sit there and copy and paste something that Nate took his time to build, or that we took our time to build, and you're going to put that in the world and act like you know what you're doing. Where if we sat down with you and asked you how you built it, you would get absolutely obliterated.
Right.
Yeah.
You would get destroyed. And so I don't know. It just pisses me off.
Yeah.
It would piss me off so much too. Like, just how much, like you just explained, that actually goes into it. If it was truly that easy, then no one would be giving it away that easy, Like, I feel like that's something that people, when they're scrolling Instagram and see that ad, they don't realize.
Yeah.
It's like, if that actually worked, then Nate has 100 free templates, NNN has 5,000 free templates, NNN.xyz has 6,000 free templates.
Yeah.
People wouldn't give that out for free.
Yeah.
Right.
If it actually worked.
And the flip side to this too is like, there's the whole technical lift about actually delivering the solution. But people say scale, 0 to 10K per month. It's almost like they forget about the fact that you have to close deals. Like, you have to sell to clients. Mm-hmm. That doesn't just happen because you have a template. Mm-hmm. I know how difficult it is to sell and close deals. To get anyone to cough up 10K, it's not just an easy lift, right? It's not like you can just do that overnight. That's a skill that has to be sharpened. Mm-hmm. So I think that's also like what really pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because I'm not in the trenches there in the build like you guys are, right? But then people say like, oh, this is how I scaled my business to 0 to 10K. Just sell this template. And it's like, just sell this. Just sell this. It's 3 words. They say it. Mm-hmm. But that is like, those 3 words, it's a lot more than just 3 words, obviously.
And I think if someone was to be willing to hand over 10K that quickly, that's probably a bad sign too. Like, someone you probably don't want to work with. Do you know what I mean by that? Like,
yeah, we had a client like this.
Yeah, and I think that sort of stuff can be a huge red flag because you haven't had time to see where they want to go or their expectations. You haven't had time to set what the expectations will be, and you could end up just hurting yourself in the long run again if you just take on people too quick. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, what And I made a LinkedIn post about this that has not gone out into the world. But unfortunately, and I call him the guru in all caps. Unfortunately, what the guru has learned is that it's easier to sell information than to build solutions that can be sold.
And they've correctly realized this.
Exactly. And that's what I say too. That is the correct realization if you're someone who wants to make quick internet money. But the flip side of that is that they are a toxic poison on, I guess, like capitalism as a whole. It's like, how do you operate in an environment where there's no truth? How do you know what to see and use? And there's just money being spilled into the bank accounts of a guy doing God knows what.
Right.
So
they say all roads lead to info, which it's true. I mean, we are going to capitalize on the info. But we are going to be able to show that it works and prove that the info is legitimate info. But I mean,
that's the thing too, right? We are also selling information. And we run the risk of also being like the guru.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But and we are staking our reputation on this, like we said in the Incubator video. But we have to find a way to. Well, I mean, I don't think we have to find a way. We can say everything they said, but also deliver on it. And be able to believe that that's going to happen. And I don't know how to differentiate, right? Like, how do we say something that differentiates us from the guru?
I think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it's just why we're so excited to start it with like the cohort system. Because we can completely control the results, and if we have the most important thing, like I've said from day one, was like we need our success rate to be high. And if it's high, then no one can say anything about us, because then everyone that goes through the program is going to be happy, give us a testimonial. We can say whatever percent students do well. And then it's just like at that point, the only reason that people could go through the program and fail is if they're not applying it, or if they're not actually putting their all into it. So
100%. I think one of the things too on this notion of like, how do we distinguish ourselves now that we're selling info, or will be in the next couple of months? How do we distinguish ourselves? There was one thing that I heard from Hormozy, not to just keep quoting him on this.
He's got a lot of good quotes.
He's got a lot of fantastic quotes. I think a lot of it boils down to the promise of the incubator and like, or of any info product, right? And it's like, we see these gurus and like their promise is like scale to 10K in 2 weeks, right? Or like whatever outlandish promise it is. I think we can promise that you will learn exactly the systems that we use to scale to 100K a month plus. That's a promise that I have 100% confidence in delivering. It's teaching that, because it's just exactly what we've done. And like, ultimately, that's why we have the code of conduct, right? That's why we have them sign the pledge. It's like, we're going to teach you exactly how we did it. And we promise that you're going to learn that. Whether or not you achieve that result, 100K a month, is going to be up to you. Like, you have to apply that knowledge at the end of the day. And I think that's going to be a massive distinguisher for us. It's like, we can promise that we'll teach the skills. We can't promise that you're going to scale to that revenue figure. But we can promise that if you implement what we learned, you're going to have the skills and knowledge required to do that. And I think that's a very powerful promise, and how we stay truthful in this age of like crazy info and gurus.
Right. Yeah, no, that's it saves our ass. Right. Don't promise anything you can't deliver. The other thing I want to touch on there too is like evidence. Like you were saying, we get the reviews. Okay, then we can show the world. The guru can't show that.
Right.
Guru can't show shit.
I always think like, ask a guru, hey, fantastic, 10K. Can you show me 2 or 3 of your clients?
Right.
None of them are going to answer.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And time will tell. Time will tell is the other thing I wanted to say. It's like, and I'm going to riff on Harvard a little bit, because I think this applies to them in that, like, the guru makes a promise and he might get a few clients, but a month later, will he have clients? Maybe. 6 months later? Even less likely. And I say this about Harvard a lot. It's like, Harvard, Ivy League, you'll end up in a bank or something. But I personally have a grudge against Harvard because of what I went through at RPI. Very difficult school, and I know that our program is significantly harder than their computer science program. But they get placed into JP Morgan, they get placed into quant funds, they get placed into FANG, Google. We get placed into like some random software company.
Fast Enterprise.
Well, yeah, nothing against Fast Enterprise, but Fast Enterprise.
Love you, Scott.
Mr. Wardenberg. And so it's just like, time will eventually reveal that Harvard does grade inflation. Time will eventually reveal that their computer science students are not necessarily dog shit, but not as good. And so I believe, and maybe it's just a coping mechanism, that time will tell. Time will tell that the gurus are bullshitting. Time will tell that, hopefully. Time will tell that we know what we're doing or that we don't also. So,
And the good high-ticket info products hold a reputation where people will do anything to get into that program. And there are the best like proven ones for lead gen. You know, there are the best proven ones for scaling a YouTube channel. There are just these proven ones, and that's what I envision our info product, this specific one, for scaling your AI agency into an AI partner business. Because there just isn't really one yet. There isn't a couple standard, like these are the most prestigious ones to join if that's your offer. There are starting to become, get your first AI agency client. So we have like a completely blue ocean with the space we're getting into, which is just really, really exciting. Also, Tyler, I think statistically it's harder to get into clown school than it is to get into Harvard.
Clown school?
Clown school.
What is clown?
I didn't even know that exists.
It's where you learn how to be a clown, and not just the skills of being a crack clown, but you learn like, you know, all the pieces so you can adapt your mannerisms, your...
Oh, clown school. Like school to become a clown. I thought it was something else. A big red-nosed clown. Really? It's more selective?
Yes.
Well,
like percentage. So if you harder... Anyways, we don't have to dive into that. We don't have to unpack that.
No. It sounds like you want to become a clown at some point.
No.
Into this.
Where do
I just heard that the other day.
Wow.
And I just thought that was interesting. I mean, because I didn't think there was that big of a market of people that were going to applying to be a clown.
It's a competitive industry, apparently. Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Wow, interesting. Well, it's a nice link between AI agency gurus and clowns because there might be one.
We always bring it back full circle.
Yeah. But I think that's a nice. You know, you touched on there briefly about the AI partner model, and I think this is the good time to kind of maybe dive into that just a little bit. And so, you know, differences between an AI agency and an AI partner model, right? I think we've uncovered like a deep need for deep strategy and consulting and data infrastructure mapping before we start implementing a system, right? And I think those are like some of the key differences. We also see, you know, full team enablement and team trainings being something that a lot of enterprise needs. Long-term collaboration, right? So like moving off of the one-off projects versus being a long-term strategy partner. So I guess, you know, I'd want to ask you guys, and I'd just open it up, no one in particular, what about this strategic shift that we've seen now in our deals and in the way we approach clients are you guys kind of most excited or most bullish about this new model?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to not feel like a vulture constantly preying on the next dead deer I see in the road. It just gives us more time, less of a survival instinct.
Right.
I think also, I mean, maybe this is just a monetary question, but the actual financial implications of where we're going allows us to grow and scale people. And the idea of having more engineers, more PMs, more people on board is just like, holy shit, we're like driving a rocket ship here.
Yeah.
Those are the main things.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, for sure. Definitely a very interesting strategic shift. I'm super excited personally about like the kind of like strategy advisor and like consulting aspect of things. Like I think we're gonna see like chief AI officer be like an actual thing that comes up. So super excited about that.
Yeah. I do it like in terms of excitement and something that's super valuable that we do with companies is this consulting aspect is really interesting because we have business leaders come to us and say, I want this. But that person isn't necessarily in a position to know whether that's the best global solution for their company. And I guess like the analogy I would make is like, there's a lot of times when you're solving problems and you've solved the local one only to create more problems down the road and you create this spider web of issues. It's a Band-Aid fix. I guess Band-Aid fix is the best way to put it. And the same is true in AI. You're going to make a system that goes into a certain department or into a certain team that okay, it solves some problem, but if you were to globally optimize on everything, how are you going to do it? And that's the value prop for consulting and what we do now. Not to like plug the hell out of us, but having somebody with an actual technical and AI vision for the company, I mean, it's going to save you billions of dollars if you're a large enterprise.
Oh yeah.
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 So yeah, I think that's super exciting as well, as an opportunity for everyone in our org now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. Well, yeah, you know, we're coming up on time now. I definitely wanted to take some time to like reflect a little bit. I know this whole conversation has been a pretty eye-opening reflection actually for me, definitely. And one thing you guys know is like I recently took on a role as founder in residence in BU, like entrepreneurship school, something I'm super excited about. I think now like we all know like what it's like to be a founder. Like it's been quite a lot of time that we've been in the trenches. One thing that my co-founder of my first business ever told me like very early on, he was like made an analogy of what it's like to be a founder, which like we talked about how it's like just chewing glass all the time. The analogy he said is like you jump off a cliff with a bag of plane parts and you have to assemble the plane, hop in it and start flying before you hit the ground. And I was like, dude, that really hit, because that's really what it feels like, right? Like you're just you're falling constantly, like you're in free fall almost constantly, and there's so many things you have to piece together in such a precise manner, and then you have to jump in and learn how to operate the thing and fly it. So really, really interesting analogy there, and I guess I would want to ask you guys, you know, like reflecting on your own individual journeys as founders. And maybe a bit of a more generic question, but I'm really interested to hear, you know, maybe Nate, we start with you, and then Tyler, we go over to you. If you were to, you know, everything you know now as a founder, if you were to go back to yourself when you first founded a company, which maybe for you, Nate, is like the start of your YouTube channel, maybe it's the dropshipping days, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I like that analogy. I've never heard that before. It's interesting. And I think the first thing that I thought about when you said that was that most entrepreneurs probably fail. I don't know the statistic, but when you think about that analogy, it makes it seem clear that a lot of people just wouldn't be able to do that. Or maybe they have a parachute and they bail out and pull that before they hit the ground.
Yep.
And I think the way that everything that I've done has been so spontaneous. And because, like I said to you guys, when we kind of started this podcast, was I've just been in this vicious cycle of drown, float to the top, take a few deep breaths, and then drown again. And it's been just like that for a long time over the past year. So I think what I would do is I would tell myself to regularly take a break, whether that's once a month or once every 2 weeks, where you fully unplug and think about shaping the next 3 months. And I think something that really, really helped me was recently when the three of us aligned on the vision of what we wanted to do for the next 3 months, 6 months, really looking down the line. And because you're in this chaos of literally a never-ending list of to-dos,
Yep.
that you just don't prioritize life planning, business vision planning, because there's 5 things sitting in your inbox right here that you need to get done so that you can get a couple hours of sleep and wake up and do more. But sometimes I think that it's just one of those like 1 step back, 2 steps forward sort of thing, because being able to take a full day to just plan out what the next month or 2 will look like so that you don't drown, I think would have helped me a ton. And now that I'm saying that, I have to make sure I actually go and do that.
Yeah.
But that's probably my one thing I would tell myself. Yeah.
Nice. Do you want to go? Or do you want to go last and cap us off?
No, I can go actually. I can go real quick. Yeah, I think the advice I would give myself, and I think I'm speaking directly to my sophomore year self of Open Lake, like when I first started, is like ignorance is bliss in a sense. I think at the time I had no idea what it would actually take. Like my co-founder came up to me and he was like, "Hey man, you want to start a company?" I was like, "Yeah." I had no idea, right? I was like, oh, how hard can it be, right? And I think like that ignorance actually in a lot of ways has helped me, because like maybe if I knew just how difficult it was and just how much shit I was gonna eat, I wouldn't have taken the plunge. And like I can see that being true for all of our initiatives, right? It's like almost everything we do. It's like with the incubator. Yeah, like I feel qualified to give the advice, and at the end of the day, like how hard can it be? You know? Same with building a product, same with building a team, like everything. It's like there's other people that have done it, and I haven't done it yet, so I don't know exactly what it takes. How hard can it be? And I think like keeping that mindset sharp is, you know, I'd probably tell myself to have that mindset.
Yeah. I've written down 5 things, but I'll just go with the one I think is most important. And that's
Classic.
yeah, the mind of an engineer. I just wrote rest in all caps. And the reason I say this is like the entrepreneur lifestyle, for whatever reason, is like highly idealized, especially by men nowadays.
Yeah.
But you don't know what you're signing up for. You really don't. You can
Yeah.
think you do, but you don't. And so you're going to grind. You're going to be plugged in. It's not a 9 to 5. You don't have hours where you're off and on. You can set them for yourself, but you got to understand what responsibilities you have. And so finding time to rest, to genuinely say, I'm not doing this right now. Finding ways to like trigger your parasympathetic nervous system, whether that's breath work, whatever the hell, exercise. You have to find that. I saw something the other day. There's 3 classes of workers that end up chronically stressed and with like chronic panic disorder. It's military, medical professionals, and founders. And if you don't find a way to rest, you're going to be stuck in overdrive your whole life, and it's not going to be sustainable. So find a way to rest. Family, whatever it is, just unplug. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I appreciate you guys sharing that. I think, you know, any founder, current or aspiring, can hear that and run with that, and hopefully that's helpful. I guess to, you know, fully close it off here, maybe we can talk a little bit about TrueHorizon again and like where it is that we're going. You know, right now, obviously planning like the educational infrastructure. We've got the incubator launching. We're growing our enterprise and our services. Maybe and again, you know, we've got like a pretty clear 3-month roadmap, maybe 6-month roadmap, but like we've seen that to be not super effective of having a large roadmap just because the startup is so dynamic, AI, novel technology every single day. I guess if you could all give a one-liner or maybe a 2-liner of like what it is that excites you the most about TrueHorizon over the next 12 months.
I mean, I've got one. It's probably pretty boring and pretty basic, but when I really like step outside of the AI bubble and realize just how early we are, it gets me so excited.
Yep.
There's nothing more exciting than thinking about how early we are as of August 26, 2025.
Yeah.
Products, seeing the world use our solutions that have solved and innovated. Just so excited for when we productize.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I think I'd say some combination of both of what you guys said. Of like, I think our products are going to be absolutely absurd. Like amazing margins there from like a business standpoint. And also the fact that we are so early, like us 3 as bleeding edge AI founders can't even fathom what's going to be possible 6 months from now even. Forget about 12 months. And I think that's what excites me the most. Again, like the analogy always is like in the early days of like the internet and the .com bubble, like no one was like Airbnb and Uber are like going to be a thing, right? And I think we're seeing that just compounded to like the next level with what the capabilities of AI are. And I think, you know, we are uniquely positioned as young founders to just grab that and run with it. So.
Yeah. I mean, so many things that I know the 3 of us want to do, but just our key signals have to take it one step at a time. But we'll get to do all the stuff we want to do.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting. And one more thing I wanted to say real quick was, I'm not sure if you guys agree with me, but this is just something that I always think about because of my experience, first of all, in automation and then like in the community talking to people all day, is that I think AI automation is obviously a buzzword right now. AI agent's a big buzzword right now. And I think it's like waking people up to just the concept of like automation in general, because I think that a lot of people before this AI wave didn't even have any automations in place. And now it's like the only reason they're starting to think about it is because the term AI thrown in front of it is what makes it like this new initiative or new thing to look at. But that's just really interesting to me. Like the majority of people I'll talk to, I'll ask them like, the 4 pillars of automation that we look for. And they'll describe these processes where I'm like, you don't need AI at all in this. Just automate it. And then we can start to look at like agents or whatever it is. But yeah, that just is what shows me how early we are.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's all I've got. Yeah.
Yeah. I was also thinking about that too, walking over here. Like right now we're in New York City, right? Like, millions of people on the island, like island of Manhattan, just walking around and like, I just see everyone. I'm like, how many of these people like actually know what's coming with AI? Like how many of them are like really know? Cause like, I mean, we are in this thing every single day and even we don't fully know, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Altman talks about it all the time of like, robots roaming the streets in like 10 years might be fully normalized.
Yeah.
And it's just a crazy, crazy thought. And it's like, how many people really like know and like understand what's coming? So I think that's super exciting.
One of my favorite quotes from Nick Sonnenberg, who we'll be going and meeting him soon, which will be great. He once said to me, like, it's really hard to see the label if you're always inside the jar. So the same thing as like the AI bubble, but I like the way he framed that. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, gentlemen.
All right, boys.
Yeah, I just want to say, Milan, thank you. Thank you for putting this together. He's moderated this and put together the entire script and outline. So thank you to you as well for doing this. And thank you to both of you guys for going on this journey all together. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, appreciate you guys. I think more than I can express, honestly. And, just excited for what's to come.
Absolutely.
Hooray.
All right. Good shit, boys.
Right.
That was fucking killer.
That was awesome. Yeah.